Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt truly happy? Not just smiling for a photo, not just laughing at a meme, not just pretending everything is fine. I'm talking about that deep, peaceful, quiet happiness. The kind that sits in your chest and makes you feel safe. The kind that whispers, "No matter what happens, I'm okay." Sounds rare, right? Here's the truth. Life is messy. It's unpredictable. And sometimes it's downright hard. Deadlines pile up. Family responsibilities grow heavier. Money feels tight. Dreams feel delayed. Unexpected problems show up uninvited. And in the middle of all that, happiness can feel like something reserved for later. When things calm down, when I earn more, when problems disappear. But what if happiness isn't something you wait for? What if happiness isn't about having a perfect life? What if it's not about avoiding pain? What if it's about learning how to stand strong, even when life shakes you? Because here's something powerful. Happiness is not the absence of hardship. It is the ability to find light inside it. And today, you're going to learn how. This isn't about toxic positivity. This isn't about pretending everything is fine. This is about real, practical, science-backed, soul-deep strategies that help you feel happier even on hard days. Small habits, daily practices that slowly but powerfully change your life. Ready? Let's begin. Chapter 1. Understanding happiness. Let's begin by clearing something up, because most people misunderstand happiness from the start. Happiness is not constant excitement. It's not laughing all day. It's not waking up every morning feeling motivated and energized. And it's definitely not a life without problems. Real happiness is much quieter than that. It's a steady sense of inner stability. It's the ability to experience sadness without drowning in it, stress without collapsing under it, and uncertainty without losing hope. Happiness is not the absence of hard moments. It's the strength to move through them with balance. Many people believe, I'll be happy when I earn more money. I'll be happy when I get married. I'll be happy when my problems are solved. But this mindset keeps happiness permanently in the future. It turns joy into a destination instead of a daily practice. The truth is, circumstances rarely stay perfect for long. Even when you achieve something big, your mind quickly adapts and starts chasing the next goal. This is called hedonic adaptation, the psychological tendency to return to a baseline level of happiness despite positive or negative events. That promotion, that new house, that milestone you worked so hard for, it feels amazing at first, but soon it becomes normal. And if your happiness depends only on external achievements, you'll always feel like something is missing. Research suggests that around half of our happiness may be influenced by genetics. Some people are naturally more optimistic, while others are more sensitive to stress. About 10% is shaped by circumstances like income, location, or relationship status. But here's the empowering part. Roughly 40% of your happiness is influenced by your intentional activities, your habits, your thoughts, your daily choices. That means nearly half of your emotional experience is within your control, not because you can control everything that happens to you, but because you can control how you respond. Understanding this changes everything. It means you are not powerless. It means happiness isn't something reserved for lucky people. It's something you build. It's something you practice. It grows through small daily actions that shape how your brain processes the world around you. Your mind is constantly interpreting events. Two people can face the same challenge, and one will see disaster while the other sees growth. The difference isn't the event, it's the perspective. Happiness also requires emotional acceptance. Many people suffer not because of their problems, but because they resist their emotions. They think feeling anxious means they're weak. They think feeling sad means they're failing. But emotions are not enemies. They are signals. Sadness tells you something mattered. Fear tells you something feels uncertain. Anger tells you a boundary may have been crossed. When you stop fighting your emotions and start understanding them, they lose their power to control you. Another important truth is that happiness is deeply connected to meaning. Pleasure is temporary. Meaning lasts. Pleasure might come from entertainment, comfort, or indulgence. Meaning comes from growth, contribution, connection, and purpose. When your life has meaning, even difficult seasons feel worthwhile. You may struggle, but you know why you're moving forward, and that why becomes a source of strength. Happiness also thrives in progress. Human beings are wired to feel good when they're moving forward, not when they're perfect, but when they're improving. Even small progress releases dopamine, the brain's motivation chemical. That's why completing small tasks feels satisfying. That's why learning something new feels energizing. When you focus on daily improvement instead of distant perfection, happiness becomes more accessible. It's also important to understand that comparison silently destroys happiness. In today's world, we constantly see curated highlights of other people's lives, perfect vacations, perfect careers, but you're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. Happiness fades when you measure your life against unrealistic standards. It grows when you measure your progress against who you were yesterday. At its core, happiness is a skill, and like any skill, it improves with practice. You don't wake up one day and permanently become happy. You train your mind daily. You build emotional resilience. You shift your focus intentionally. You create habits that support your mental well-being. Some days will feel easier than others. Some days will test you. But over time, your baseline shifts upward. When you truly understand happiness, you stop chasing it desperately. You stop thinking it's hiding somewhere outside of you. You begin realizing that it grows from within, through awareness, gratitude, perspective, connection, and purpose. And once you accept that happiness is built, not found, you reclaim your power. Life may remain unpredictable. Challenges will still come. But instead of waiting for a perfect life to feel happy, you begin creating happiness within an imperfect one. And that is where real strength. Chapter 2. Gratitude as a superpower. Gratitude is not weakness. It is not denial. It is not pretending that pain doesn't exist. Gratitude is power. It is a conscious decision to focus your energy on what is still working, even when everything feels like it's falling apart. And that decision can transform your entire emotional world. When life gets hard, the human brain automatically scans for threats. It searches for problems, for danger, for what might go wrong next. This survival mechanism kept our ancestors alive. But in modern life, this same system can trap us in negativity. We replay mistakes. We magnify disappointments. We obsess over what's missing. And slowly, without realizing it, we train our minds to see lack instead of abundance. Gratitude interrupts that pattern. It forces your brain to pause and look again. Instead of asking, "What's wrong?" you begin asking, "What's still good?" Instead of focusing on what you lost, You notice what remains. Instead of drowning in frustration, you anchor yourself in appreciation. And that shift, even if it feels small, changes everything. Scientific studies consistently show that people who practice gratitude regularly experience lower levels of stress, reduced anxiety, stronger immune systems, and deeper sleep. Their relationships improve. Their resilience strengthens. Their outlook brightens. Not because their lives are perfect, but because their perspective is intentional. Gratitude rewires your brain. It strengthens neural pathways associated with optimism and emotional regulation. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. Over time, your default setting shifts. You begin noticing beauty without trying so hard. You begin feeling contentment without chasing it. But let's be clear, gratitude does not mean ignoring hardship. It does not mean suppressing pain. You are allowed to struggle. You are allowed to feel tired. You are allowed to feel overwhelmed. Gratitude simply reminds you that even inside struggle, there is still light. Maybe today was exhausting, but you made it through. Maybe money is tight, but you still have skills and strength. Maybe your heart is heavy, but it still beats with resilience. Those truths matter. One of the most powerful ways to build gratitude is through daily reflection. Each night, before you sleep, ask yourself one simple question. What went right today? Not what was perfect. Not what was extraordinary. Just what went right. Maybe someone smiled at you. Maybe you completed a task you were avoiding. Maybe you drank enough water. Maybe you chose patience instead of anger. These small acknowledgments build emotional momentum. They remind you that progress is happening, even if it's quiet. Another powerful practice is expressing gratitude outwardly. Tell people what they mean to you. Send that message. Make that call. Speak appreciation out loud. Gratitude strengthens connection, and connection multiplies happiness. When you express appreciation, you don't just lift others, you elevate yourself. There is also strength in gratitude during adversity. When life hits hard, gratitude becomes an anchor. It doesn't remove the storm, but it keeps you steady inside it. It reminds you that your identity is bigger than your current situation. It reminds you that challenges are temporary, but your inner strength is permanent. Gratitude builds resilience. It trains you to look for growth in setbacks, to see lessons in failures, to recognize that even painful chapters can shape powerful futures. Some of the strongest, most grounded people in the world developed their depth through hardship, and gratitude helped them endure it. Think about this. If you only feel grateful when life is easy, your happiness will always be fragile. But if you can feel gratitude even when life is difficult, your happiness becomes unshakable. You don't need grand achievements to feel thankful. You need awareness, the air in your lungs, the ability to think, the chance to try again tomorrow, the small comforts that make hard days bearable. These are not small things. They are foundations. Gratitude turns not enough into more than I realized. It turns why me into what now. It turns ordinary days into meaningful ones. And the more you practice it, the more powerful it becomes. Happiness is not built in massive leaps. It is built in quiet moments of appreciation. It is built when you choose to notice the good instead of obsessing over the bad. It is built when you decide that even on difficult days, there is something worth acknowledging. Gratitude is not passive. It is active strength. It is a daily declaration that life, despite its flaws, still holds value. And when you commit to living with that awareness, you begin to experience something extraordinary, not because your problems disappear, but because your perspective evolves. Gratitude doesn't just change how you see the world. It changes how the world feels to you. And that is real power. Chapter 3. The Power of Connection. No matter how strong you are, no matter how independent you think you've become, you were never designed to do life alone. Human beings are wired for connection. From the moment we are born, we survive and thrive through relationships. And when those connections are strong, our happiness becomes stronger too. In today's world, we are more connected than ever before, yet many people feel deeply alone. We scroll endlessly. We double-tap pictures. We send quick replies. But real connection is not measured in likes or followers. It is measured in presence, in eye contact, in vulnerability, in conversations where you feel seen instead of judged. True happiness grows in relationships where you can be yourself without performance. Think about the last time you had a genuine conversation with someone. Not small talk, but something real. Maybe you shared a fear. Maybe you laughed uncontrollably. Maybe you felt understood without having to explain yourself. That feeling of warmth afterward wasn't random. It was chemistry. When we connect deeply with others, our brain releases oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. It reduces stress, lowers blood pressure, and increases feelings of trust and safety. Connection is medicine. Studies consistently show that people with strong social relationships live longer, recover faster from illness, and report higher levels of life satisfaction. Loneliness, on the other hand, has been linked to increased anxiety, depression, and even physical health risks. That's how powerful human connection truly is. But here's the hard truth. Meaningful relationships require effort. They require time. They require vulnerability. They require listening, not just waiting for your turn to speak. If you want to feel happier, start by strengthening your relationships. Send that message you've been postponing. Make that call. Plan that coffee meetup. Tell someone you appreciate them. Small actions build strong bonds, and strong bonds create emotional safety. It's not about having hundreds of friends. It's about having a few real ones. People who celebrate your wins without jealousy. People who stand beside you during losses without judgment. People who remind you who you are when you forget. And connection isn't only about others. It also starts within. If you don't feel comfortable with yourself, it becomes difficult to build healthy relationships. Self-connection means understanding your emotions, acknowledging your needs, and respecting your boundaries. When you treat yourself with compassion, you naturally attract healthier connections. Sometimes, rebuilding connection requires courage. Maybe you've been hurt before. Maybe trust feels risky. Maybe you've convinced yourself that isolation is safer, but isolation slowly drains joy. It may protect you from disappointment, but it also blocks you from belonging. Belonging is a deep human need. You don't need to be perfect to belong. You don't need to be impressive to belong. You need to be authentic. If you feel disconnected right now, start small. Join a group that aligns with your interests. A book club, a fitness class, a volunteer community. Shared activities naturally create shared conversations. And shared conversations create bonds. Even pets can provide powerful companionship. The presence of a loyal animal can reduce stress and provide emotional comfort in ways that words sometimes cannot. Connection comes in many forms, but its impact is universal. Another powerful aspect of connection is contribution. When you help someone else, you don't just improve their day. You elevate your own happiness. Acts of kindness release dopamine and serotonin, chemicals linked to pleasure and well-being. Holding the door open, offering encouragement, listening without interrupting. These small actions ripple outward. Happiness multiplies when shared. But remember, quality matters more than quantity. One honest conversation can nourish your heart more than 100 surface-level interactions. Protect your energy. Choose relationships that uplift rather than drain you. It's okay to step back from connections that constantly bring negativity into your life. Healthy connection should feel supportive, not exhausting. When life becomes difficult, connection becomes even more important. During stress, your instinct may be to withdraw, but that is often when you need people the most. Let someone sit with you. Let someone remind you that you're not alone. Strength is not pretending you don't need anyone. Strength is knowing when to lean on others. Happiness is not a solo journey. It is built in shared laughter, shared tears, shared growth. At the end of your life, you won't remember how many emails you sent or how many deadlines you met. You will remember conversations, memories, the feeling of being loved and understood. Connection gives life meaning. It transforms ordinary days into memorable ones. It turns struggles into shared battles instead of lonely burdens. So nurture your relationships, protect them, invest in them, be present in them. Because happiness grows stronger when it's shared. And when life is hard, connection is what reminds you that you don't have to face it alone. Chapter 4. Celebrate small wins. In the pursuit of happiness, many people unknowingly trap themselves in a cycle of waiting. Waiting for the big promotion, the perfect relationship, the financial breakthrough, the life-changing achievement. They convince themselves that happiness will arrive only when something extraordinary happens. But life is not made of extraordinary moments alone. It is built from ordinary days, repeated again and again. And if you ignore the small victories within those days, you will always feel like you are falling short, even when you are making progress. Celebrating small wins is one of the most powerful mindset shifts you can develop. A small win is any positive step forward, no matter how minor it may seem. Getting out of bed on a difficult morning is a win. Completing a task you have been avoiding is a win. Choosing to respond calmly instead of reacting emotionally is a win. Drinking enough water, going for a short walk, organizing your space, sending that message you were hesitant about. These are all wins. They may not look impressive from the outside, but internally, they build confidence and momentum. Psychologically, acknowledging small wins activates the brain's reward system. Each time you recognize progress, your brain releases dopamine, the chemical associated with motivation and pleasure. This creates a positive feedback loop. The more you notice your progress, the more motivated you feel. The more motivated you feel, the more action you take. And the more action you take, the more progress you create. Over time, this loop strengthens your belief in yourself. You stop focusing solely on what remains undone and begin appreciating what you have accomplished. When life feels overwhelming, big goals can feel intimidating. They appear distant and heavy. But small wins are immediate and accessible. They remind you that progress is happening right now, not someday. Even on your hardest days, there is something you did right. Maybe you didn't solve every problem, but you survived the day. Maybe you didn't achieve perfection, but you showed up. That matters more than you realize. Another reason small wins are powerful is that they shift your identity. Instead of seeing yourself as someone who is struggling, you begin to see yourself as someone who is growing. Instead of labeling yourself as unproductive or behind, you start recognizing that you are consistent, resilient, and capable. Identity shapes behavior. When you see yourself as someone who makes progress, you naturally act in alignment with that belief. To make this practice part of your life, take a few minutes at the end of each day to reflect on what went well. Not what was perfect, not what was massive, just what moved you forward. You can write it down or simply acknowledge it mentally. Over time, you will start scanning your day for positive moments automatically. Your brain will look for evidence of growth instead of evidence of failure. When life feels overwhelming, big goals can feel intimidating. They appear distant and heavy. But small wins are immediate and accessible. They remind you that progress is happening right now, not someday. Even on your hardest days, there is something you did right. Maybe you didn't solve every problem, but you survived the day. Maybe you didn't achieve perfection, but you showed up. That matters more than you realize. Another reason small wins are powerful is that they shift your identity. Instead of seeing yourself as someone who is struggling, you begin to see yourself as someone who is growing. Instead of labeling yourself as unproductive or behind, you start recognizing that you are consistent, resilient, and capable. Identity shapes behavior. When you see yourself as someone who makes progress, you naturally act in alignment with that belief. To make this practice part of your life, take a few minutes at the end of each day to reflect on what went well. Not what was perfect, not what was massive, just what moved you forward. You can write it down or simply acknowledge it mentally. Over time, you will start scanning your day for positive moments automatically. Your brain will look for evidence of growth instead of evidence of failure. It is also important to reward yourself in small ways. Rewards do not have to be expensive or dramatic. It could be enjoying your favorite drink, taking a relaxing shower, listening to music you love, or allowing yourself time to rest without guilt. The goal is to associate effort with positive reinforcement. When effort feels appreciated, you are far more likely to continue. Life is not only about reaching the summit, it is about climbing with awareness. If you rush past every small step without acknowledgement, the journey feels exhausting. But when you pause to appreciate how far you have come, the journey becomes meaningful. Even during chaotic seasons, small wins anchor you. They remind you that progress is still happening, even if it is quiet. Happiness grows when you shift your focus from perfection to progress. Perfection is distant and unrealistic. Progress is present and achievable. Every step forward counts. Every improvement matters. Every effort builds strength. When you train yourself to celebrate small wins, you stop postponing joy for a future achievement and start experiencing it daily. Over time, these small celebrations accumulate. They build confidence. They strengthen resilience. They create a steady sense of accomplishment that does not depend on dramatic success. And that steady sense of accomplishment becomes a foundation for lasting happiness. Because happiness is not found only in the big breakthroughs. It is cultivated in the small, consistent victories that shape who you become, one day at a time. Chapter 5, Movement and Mindfulness. Happiness is not only created in the mind, it is deeply connected to the body. The way you move, breathe, rest, and care for yourself directly influences how you feel emotionally. When life becomes stressful or overwhelming, the body often carries that tension silently. Shoulders tighten, breathing becomes shallow, energy drops, thoughts become heavier. If you ignore the body, the mind eventually follows it into exhaustion. Movement is one of the simplest and most powerful ways to shift your emotional state. You were designed to move. Your body is not built for constant sitting, constant scrolling, constant mental overload. Even small physical activity can dramatically change how you feel. When you move your body, it releases endorphins, natural chemicals that elevate mood and reduce stress. These are often called feel-good hormones, and they work quickly. A short walk, gentle stretching, dancing to a favorite song, or light exercise can create noticeable emotional relief. The beauty of movement is that it does not need to be extreme to be effective. You do not need intense workouts or complicated routines. Consistency matters more than intensity. 15 minutes of daily walking can reduce anxiety. A few minutes of stretching can ease physical tension that fuels stress. When movement becomes a regular part of your routine, it stabilizes your mood over time. It strengthens not only your body but your resilience. Movement also sends a powerful message to your brain. It says, "I am taking care of myself." That message builds self-respect, and self-respect is deeply connected to happiness. When you treat your body with care, your mind responds with greater clarity and positivity. But movement alone is not enough. In a world filled with distractions, mindfulness becomes equally essential. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the current moment without judgment. Most people live either in the past or the future. They replay mistakes. They worry about outcomes. They imagine worst-case scenarios, and in doing so, they miss the only moment they truly have. Now, mindfulness gently brings you back. It reminds you to breathe deeply, to notice your surroundings, to observe your thoughts without being controlled by them. When you practice mindfulness, you create space between stimulus and reaction. Instead of immediately reacting to stress, you pause. That pause is powerful. In that space, you regain control. You choose calm over chaos. You choose clarity over confusion. Simple breathing exercises can instantly calm your nervous system. Inhale slowly for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the system responsible for relaxation. In moments of stress, this technique can lower your heart rate and steady your thoughts within minutes. Mindfulness does not require long meditation sessions. Although those can help, it can be practiced in small, everyday actions. Drinking your morning coffee without scrolling your phone, feeling the ground beneath your feet while walking, listening fully when someone speaks, paying attention to the rhythm of your breath. These moments of awareness anchor you to the present. When you combine movement and mindfulness, the effects multiply. Mindful walking, for example, allows you to notice the sensation of each step, the sounds around you, the feeling of air against your skin. Yoga blends physical movement with breath awareness, strengthening both body and mind simultaneously. Even simple stretching while focusing on slow breathing can reduce accumulated stress. During difficult seasons, these practices become even more important. When emotions feel heavy, movement helps release built-up tension. When thoughts feel overwhelming, mindfulness prevents them from spiraling out of control. Together, they create emotional balance. It is important to remember that happiness is not about eliminating stress entirely. Stress is a natural part of life. What matters is how you regulate it. Movement and mindfulness give you tools to manage stress instead of being managed by it. They empower you to respond rather than react. Start small. 5 minutes of stretching in the morning, a short walk in the evening, 3 deep breaths before responding to a stressful message. Over time, these small practices create a noticeable shift. Your energy improves, your patience grows, your focus sharpens, and your emotional baseline stabilizes. The mind and body are not separate systems. They are deeply interconnected. When you strengthen one, you support the other. By moving regularly and practicing mindfulness consistently, you build a foundation that supports daily happiness, not just during easy days, but especially during hard ones. Happiness thrives in a calm, energized, and present state. Movement energizes you, mindfulness centers you, and together, they create the internal balance that allows you to face life with clarity, strength, and steady optimism, no matter what challenges arise. Chapter 6. Shifting your perspective. Life will not always go according to your plans. There will be delays, disappointments, misunderstandings, failures, and unexpected turns. You cannot control every situation, every outcome, or every person, but you can control one powerful thing: your perspective. And often, that makes all the difference between feeling defeated and feeling empowered. Perspective is the lens through which you interpret your experiences. Two people can go through the exact same challenge and walk away with completely different emotional outcomes. One may see only loss and injustice. The other may see growth and redirection. The event is the same. The meaning assigned to it is different, and meaning shapes emotion. When something difficult happens, the natural reaction is often, "Why is this happening to me?" That question can quickly lead to frustration, self-pity, or resentment. But what if you change the question? What if instead you asked, "What can this teach me?" Or, "How can I grow through this?" This shift does not deny pain. It does not pretend disappointment doesn't exist. It simply transforms suffering into learning. Consider a setback, such as not receiving an opportunity you deeply wanted. At first, it may feel like rejection. It may feel personal. But with a shifted perspective, it can become redirection. Perhaps there is a skill you need to develop. Perhaps there is a better path ahead. Perhaps the timing was not aligned. Many successful people look back at their biggest disappointments and recognize them as turning points rather than endings. Perspective also shapes everyday experiences. Imagine being stuck in traffic. One reaction is frustration and irritation. Another is using the time to listen to something inspiring, reflect quietly, or simply practice patience. The external situation remains unchanged, but your internal experience transforms completely. Small shifts like this accumulate over time, shaping your overall sense of happiness. A powerful way to build perspective is through reflection. When facing a challenge, pause and step back mentally. Imagine you are observing the situation from outside yourself. What advice would you give a close friend in the same position? Often, we are kinder and more rational when guiding others than when speaking to ourselves. That external viewpoint reveals solutions and strengths you may not see in the moment. It is also important to remember that most difficult moments are temporary. When you are inside a hard season, it can feel permanent. But think about your past. There were challenges you once believed would last forever. Yet here you are, having survived them. Time moves forward. Circumstances evolve. Emotions shift. Reminding yourself that this too shall pass provides emotional steadiness during turbulence. Another powerful perspective shift is recognizing that challenges are part of the human experience. Struggle does not mean you are failing. It means you are living. Growth rarely happens in comfort. It happens when you are stretched, tested, and forced to adapt. Every obstacle carries potential strength within it. The discomfort you feel today may be building resilience for tomorrow. Surrounding yourself with uplifting influences also strengthens perspective. Conversations with wise, supportive people can help you see angles you may have missed. Sometimes you only need one encouraging voice to remind you that your situation is not hopeless. Shared experiences create clarity and reassurance. Shifting your perspective does not mean forcing positivity. It means choosing empowerment over helplessness. It means recognizing that while you may not control external events, you control your response, and your response determines whether you remain stuck or move forward. Happiness becomes more stable when you stop expecting life to be easy and start expecting yourself to be resilient. Instead of viewing obstacles as roadblocks, you begin seeing them as stepping stones. Instead of asking, "Why is this against me?" you begin asking, "How is this shaping me?" When you take responsibility for how you interpret events, you reclaim your emotional strength. You stop giving circumstances full authority over your happiness. You become the author of your internal narrative. Life will continue to present challenges. That is inevitable. But with a shifted perspective, those challenges lose their power to define you. They become experiences, not identities, lessons, not limitations, temporary chapters, not permanent conclusions. And when you master your perspective, you discover something profound. Happiness is not determined by what happens to you. It is shaped by how you choose to see it. Chapter 7. Cultivating Purpose and Meaning. Happiness that depends only on comfort is fragile. It fades when circumstances change. It weakens when challenges appear. But happiness rooted in purpose is different. It is deeper, stronger, more stable. Purpose gives your life direction, and meaning gives your struggles value. Together, they create a foundation that can carry you through even the hardest seasons. Many people chase pleasure, but very few intentionally build purpose. Pleasure feels good in the moment. Entertainment, relaxation, achievement, recognition. But pleasure is temporary. Purpose lasts. Purpose is the reason you get up when you feel tired. It is the reason you keep going when motivation fades. It is the quiet voice inside you that says, "This matters." Purpose does not have to be dramatic. It does not require fame, wealth, or extraordinary talent. It can be found in raising a family with love, in helping others grow, in creating art, in solving problems, in contributing to your community. Purpose is deeply personal. It is not about meeting society's expectations. It is about aligning your actions with what feels meaningful to you. When your actions connect to something larger than yourself, even difficult tasks feel worthwhile. Challenges become part of a bigger story. Struggles become stepping stones instead of burdens. You may still feel tired, but you no longer feel empty. There is a difference between exhaustion and emptiness. Purpose prevents emptiness. Finding purpose begins with reflection. Ask yourself, when do I feel most alive? When do I lose track of time because I am fully engaged? What kind of impact do I want to have on others? What values matter most to me? These questions uncover patterns. They reveal clues about what gives your life meaning. Often, purpose is hidden inside your passions and your pain. The things that deeply move you, whether excitement or frustration, often point toward what you care about most. If injustice angers you, maybe fairness matters deeply to you. If helping others energizes you, maybe service is part of your purpose. If creating something brings peace, maybe expression is your path. Once you recognize what feels meaningful, the next step is integration. You do not need to completely change your life overnight. Small intentional shifts are powerful. If connection is meaningful to you, prioritize quality time. If growth matters, dedicate time to learning. If contribution matters, volunteer or support someone who needs encouragement. Purpose grows through consistent action. Purpose also strengthens resilience. When you know why you are doing something, you tolerate discomfort more easily. Difficult workouts feel manageable when tied to health goals. Long work hours feel meaningful when connected to providing for loved ones. Personal growth feels worthwhile when linked to becoming a better version of yourself. The why fuels the how. Another important truth is that purpose evolves. What feels meaningful at one stage of life may shift in another. That is natural. Growth brings new priorities. The key is staying connected to your values and adjusting as needed. Purpose is not rigid. It grows with you. Living with purpose also reduces comparison. When you are clear about your direction, you stop measuring yourself against someone else's journey. You understand that everyone's path is unique. Your timeline is yours. Your calling is yours. And when you focus on alignment instead of competition, peace increases. Meaning can also be found in everyday actions. Preparing a meal with care, listening fully to someone who needs support, completing your responsibilities with integrity. These moments may seem ordinary, but they become meaningful when done with intention. Purpose is not always loud. Often, it is quiet consistency. During hard times, purpose becomes an anchor. When motivation fades and circumstances feel heavy, remembering what truly matters steadies you. It reminds you that this moment is part of a larger journey. It gives you strength when emotions fluctuate. It provides direction when confusion appears. Happiness rooted in purpose is not constant excitement. It is steady fulfillment. It is the feeling that your life has direction, that your efforts count, that your existence adds value in some way. And that feeling creates deep satisfaction, the kind that does not disappear when life becomes challenging. When you cultivate purpose and meaning, you stop chasing happiness as a temporary emotion. You begin building it as a lasting state. You wake up not just to survive the day, but to contribute to something that matters. And in that contribution, you discover one of the strongest forms of happiness available. The happiness that comes from living intentionally, aligned with your values, and moving forward with clarity. Because when your life has meaning, even the hard days feel purposeful. And that makes all the difference. Chapter 8, Building Emotional Resilience. No matter how strong your mindset is, no matter how grateful you try to be, no matter how clear your purpose becomes, life will still test you. There will be days when your energy is low, when your plans fall apart, when people disappoint you, and when nothing feels easy. The difference between those who stay emotionally steady and those who collapse under pressure is not the absence of problems. It is resilience. Emotional resilience is the ability to bend without breaking. It is the capacity to feel pain without being permanently defined by it. It is not about suppressing emotions or pretending you are unaffected. It is about allowing yourself to feel, process, and recover. Resilient people are not emotionless. They simply do not let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. When something painful happens, your mind may immediately jump to extremes. This always happens. Nothing ever works out. I can't handle this. These thoughts feel real in the moment, but they are rarely accurate. Resilience begins with awareness. It requires catching those exaggerated narratives before they take control. Instead of saying, "I can't handle this," shift to, "This is difficult, but I will move through it. Everything is falling apart." Reframe it to, "This is one hard chapter, not my whole story." The words you use internally matter. They either weaken you or strengthen you. Another key part of resilience is emotional regulation. When emotions rise, anger, sadness, frustration, pause before reacting. Give yourself space. Take deep breaths. Step away briefly if needed. Most regrets come from reactions made in emotional intensity. Strength comes from responding with intention rather than impulse. Resilience also grows through self-compassion. Many people are kind to others but harsh toward themselves. They criticize their mistakes, replay their failures, and judge their weaknesses. But growth does not thrive in self-hatred. It thrives in understanding. When you make a mistake, speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love, with honesty, but also with patience. Hardship often feels isolating. You may believe you are the only one struggling, but struggle is universal. Everyone faces moments of doubt, rejection, and fear. Resilience increases when you remember that difficulty is part of the human experience, not proof that you are inadequate. Another powerful component of resilience is adaptability. Life rarely unfolds exactly as planned. Jobs change, relationships evolve, goals shift. When you resist change completely, suffering intensifies. When you adapt, you regain power. Adaptability does not mean giving up. It means adjusting your approach while staying committed to growth. Resilience also requires rest. Strength is not constant action. It is knowing when to pause and recover. Burnout weakens emotional stability. Rest restores clarity. Taking breaks, sleeping properly, disconnecting from stress temporarily, these are not signs of laziness. They are acts of self-preservation. Every time you survive something you once thought you couldn't handle, your resilience strengthens. Think about your past. There were moments you believed would break you, yet you are still here. That is proof of your strength. You have already overcome more than you give yourself credit for. Challenges do not only test you, they train you. They stretch your patience. They deepen your empathy. They sharpen your awareness. The pain you endure today often becomes wisdom tomorrow. Resilience transforms wounds into lessons. It is important to understand that resilience is built gradually. It grows through repeated recovery. Each time you fall and stand up again, your emotional foundation becomes stronger. Each time you face discomfort, instead of avoiding it, your confidence expands. Happiness does not mean you will never struggle. It means you trust your ability to handle struggle. That trust creates calm. That calm creates stability. And that stability supports lasting well-being. When life becomes hard, resilience whispers, "You've handled difficulty before. You can handle this too." It reminds you that emotions are temporary, growth is ongoing, and setbacks are not final. You are stronger than your worst day. You are bigger than your current challenge, and you are capable of rebuilding, adjusting, and moving forward again and again. Resilience is not loud. It is quiet determination. It is steady courage. It is the decision to keep going, even when progress feels slow. And when resilience becomes part of who you are, happiness stops being fragile. It becomes grounded, stable, durable. Because no matter what life throws your way, you know one thing for certain: you will rise. Chapter 9. Letting go of what you can't control. One of the biggest thieves of happiness is the illusion of control. We try to control outcomes. We try to control timing. We try to control how others see us. And when things don't go according to our expectations, we feel anxious, frustrated, even helpless. But here is a powerful truth. Not everything is yours to control. You cannot control how someone feels about you. You cannot control every opportunity. You cannot control the past. You cannot control unexpected changes. What you can control is your response, your effort, your mindset, and your boundaries. The more energy you spend fighting what is outside your control, the less energy you have for what actually belongs to you. And that imbalance creates stress. Chronic stress, the kind that drains happiness slowly day by day. Letting go is not giving up. It is not weakness. It is recognizing the difference between responsibility and obsession. For example, you can prepare thoroughly for an interview. You can show up confident and ready, but you cannot control the final decision. Once you've done your part, holding on to anxiety about the result does not improve the outcome. It only disturbs your peace. Learning to release outcomes while staying committed to effort is emotional freedom. Another major source of unhappiness is holding on to the past, replaying mistakes, reanalyzing conversations, wishing you had acted differently. But the past is informational, not functional. It can teach you, but it cannot be changed. When you cling to it, you stay stuck in a moment that no longer exists. Forgiveness, whether toward others or yourself, becomes essential here. Forgiveness does not mean approving of what happened. It means freeing yourself from carrying its weight forever. The longer you hold resentment, the longer you allow someone else's actions to control your emotional state. Letting go also applies to unrealistic expectations. Sometimes we create timelines in our minds. By this age, I should have this. By this point, I should be there. And when life unfolds differently, we feel behind. But comparison and rigid expectations suffocate happiness. Life rarely follows a straight line. Growth often happens in detours. When you loosen your grip on how things should be, you make room for how they actually are. Acceptance is powerful. It does not mean you stop striving. It means you stop resisting reality. Resistance creates suffering. Acceptance creates clarity. Once you accept a situation, you can decide how to respond effectively. A helpful exercise is to divide your concerns into two categories: what you can control and what you cannot. Focus your energy only on the first category: your habits, your actions, your attitude, your effort. The rest, release it. When you let go of constant control, something unexpected happens. You feel lighter, your mind quiets, your stress reduces, your focus sharpens. You become more present, and presence is where happiness lives. Control is often rooted in fear. Fear of uncertainty, fear of failure, fear of rejection. But life will always contain uncertainty. The goal is not to eliminate uncertainty. The goal is to build trust in yourself. Trust that whatever happens, you will handle it. That trust creates calm confidence. It allows you to move forward without clinging desperately to outcomes. It allows you to love without trying to possess. It allows you to work hard without tying your entire identity to results. Happiness grows when you stop trying to manage the uncontrollable and start strengthening the controllable. It grows when you release the past, soften rigid expectations, and accept that uncertainty is part of the journey. You do your best. You stay aligned with your values. You adjust when necessary. And you let the rest unfold. There is peace in that, because when you stop fighting what you cannot control, you finally gain control over what matters most, your inner world. And that inner stability becomes the foundation for steady, lasting happiness, even when life is unpredictable. Chapter 10: Becoming the Architect of Your Own Happiness. At the end of everything, After the mindset shifts, the gratitude practices, the resilience, the discipline, the letting go, one truth remains powerful and undeniable. Your happiness is your responsibility, not your parents', not society's, not luck's, yours. For most of our lives, we are conditioned to believe happiness is something that happens to us. When I get the job, when I earn more money, when I find the right relationship, when things calm down, when I finally succeed. But happiness is not a destination you arrive at. It is a state you build. It is built in small decisions. It is built in how you think when things go wrong. It is built in what you tolerate and what you refuse to accept. You become the architect of your happiness when you stop waiting and start designing. Designing your boundaries, designing your mindset, designing your circle, designing your standards. Every thought you repeat becomes a belief. Every belief shapes your behavior. Every behavior shapes your life. That means your internal world quietly constructs your external reality. If you constantly tell yourself you are unlucky, incapable, or behind, you will unconsciously act in alignment with that story. But if you begin to tell yourself you are growing, learning, and capable, even when progress is slow, your actions start to reflect strength instead of fear. Happiness is deeply connected to alignment. Alignment between what you value and how you live. Alignment between what you say and what you do. Alignment between who you are and who you are becoming. When you live out of alignment, there is tension, inner conflict, quiet dissatisfaction. But when your actions reflect your core values, even hard days feel meaningful. Being the architect of your happiness also means taking ownership of your emotional patterns. You cannot control every circumstance, but you can examine your reactions. If something repeatedly disturbs your peace, look inward. Is it a boundary issue? A belief issue? A fear issue? Self-awareness gives you blueprints. Self-discipline builds the structure. Resilience strengthens the foundation. Gratitude decorates the space, and slowly, intentionally, you construct a life that feels steady from within. There will still be challenges. There will still be loss. There will still be unexpected turns. But when your happiness is built internally rather than externally, it becomes stable, not fragile, not easily shaken. External success without internal stability feels empty. But internal stability, even during growth, feels powerful. You do not need a perfect life to experience happiness. You need a conscious one, a life where you choose growth over comfort, a life where you choose responsibility over blame, a life where you choose presence over distraction, a life where you choose courage over avoidance. The most empowering realization is this: you are not stuck. You are not finished. You are not defined by your worst mistakes or your slowest seasons. You are constantly in the process of becoming. Every day gives you new building material, a new thought, a new action, a new boundary, a new decision. Happiness is not about eliminating all pain. It is about strengthening your ability to navigate pain without losing yourself. It is about creating inner stability so that outer chaos does not dictate your emotional state. You are the designer. You are the builder. You are the decision maker. And when you fully accept that role, something shifts. You stop waiting for life to hand you happiness. You begin creating it intentionally, patiently, powerfully, not perfectly, but consistently. And consistency, over time, transforms everything. This is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of conscious living. From here forward, every thought you nurture, every habit you practice, Every boundary you enforce, every challenge you overcome, becomes another brick in the structure of your happiness. And when you look back years from now, you will not just see a life that happened to you, you will see a life you built.